They say the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. Well, that's what it's felt like for me on YouTube for the last 6 months. So something has got to change. Well, g'day everyone. I'm out here in some beautiful local bushland. I've actually camped out, stealth camped out at this spot one time long ago. And so I've been so focused on big adventures and trying to go to faraway places that sometimes I forget to come out to my local bushland. So it's good just to come out here and enjoy this place. Now in this video, I want to talk a little bit about the changes and my plans for this year of 2026. Because I can't keep going the way I've been going on YouTube. So if you want to find out what the vision and the plan is for 2026, make sure you stick around as I'll talk about that later on. But first, I just want to give you a little bit of a rundown, a little bit of a highlight reel of last year and the channel in general. So I started this channel almost 2 years ago. I think it was March 2024. And with the idea of wanting to do Australian heritage, traditional Bushman type camping adventures. And from the get-go, the channel kind of it took off. It did really, really well. I previously had a channel before this that I did for 2 years, which was all about camping with kids. Not really traditional camping, but camping with kids. And that was really hard to grow, that channel. When I made the Bearded Bushranger, I kind of knew that this was a market that people were interested in. This was, a niche that people were interested in. And so, yeah, look, it just kind of, from the get-go, it took off and I was making ad revenue. You know, the average video I was pumping out in 2024 was hitting 50,000 to 100,000 views straight off the bat. Then the last year, 2025, was a really, really good year for the channel, especially the first half of the year. And I really felt like this channel was going to be able to be a full-time gig. It wasn't quite a full-time gig in 2025. I do farmhand work for my old man where we live as a way to supplement my income, but it was definitely became my main source of income in 2025 purely by ad revenue, a little bit by Patreon and memberships and affiliate links and stuff like that as well, but mainly ad revenue because people were really interested in what I was creating. And, you know, that was very, very encouraging. I put out a video near the start of last year, a 4-day survival video on the coastline, and that went viral. That's almost on 500,000 views now. And that video really kind of pushed me out there and yeah, really helped. And a few videos after that as well, like a Ned Kelly video and stuff like that, they really gained some traction and I felt like I was on such a roll. Some other highlights from last year include, you know, getting more into the survival genre. I really love that survival challenge kind of stuff. Getting a boat, an old wooden kind of vintage wooden dinghy, which I plan to do a lot of adventures in. That was really cool. Just really going deeper into Australian history as well on the channel, learning more about the history of this great country. I think that was also a highlight of last year, as well as doing, you know, meeting up and doing collaborations with great people like my mate Tim and also Matsy from the Silly Swag Man, and also learning more about heritage material and traditional material, especially with some of my collaborations with Lee from Peak Oil Company. So yeah, look, last year was a ripper year, especially at the start of the year, and it allowed me to really start considering doing this channel and these videos as a way, as a bit of an income, as a job, you could say. which I was stoked because I've always loved filmmaking and going on adventures. Now, unfortunately, some of you might be aware of the algorithm changes of last year. Around the middle of last year, something happened on YouTube, and they call it the creator recession, where everyone across YouTube, all their views were just going down. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people, especially in the middle class of YouTube, like where I'm at, views were just going down. And with that meant ad revenue and income was just going down as well. And it was really, really hard. You know, previously, like I said, you know, videos could get 50 to 100,000 views, maybe more than 200,000 views. I was struggling to get a video over 10,000 views, you know, towards the end of last year. And, you know, to me, it's not about views because I want to be seen, but the views, the more ad revenue, the more income I have to provide for my family, the more income I gain from YouTube to provide for my family, the more I'm able to make these videos and pursue these adventures. So to me, it's about being able to do it as an income so that I can continue pumping out videos. Now, with this creator recession, not getting as many views, I just found it was very, very hard to go camping every fortnight, every second week, and pump out a camping video every second week. The amount of time and planning and effort that goes into a video is very, it's a lot of work. Like even just preparing a video, researching where I'm going to go, researching the history of the theme I'm going to do behind it, packing the car, going out there, doing the actual adventure, getting exhausted, coming home, unpacking, loading all the footage, editing all of that, and then putting it out there. And doing that every 2 weeks, like, it's good fun. I would love to continue doing it, but it has become unsustainable with the way YouTube is at the moment, where basically, yeah, the views are just down. I mean, when I go out there, I'm taking time off my other job, and I'm also taking time away from my family, from my wife, and from my kids. And that's also a strain on the family, strain on my wife, and it can be quite stressful as well. And if the return is not there, I'm not getting the return like I used to be. I came to the point at the end of last year where I realized I just can't keep doing this the way I've been doing it anymore. Something's got to change. So I came up with a bit of a strategy and a vision for this year of 2026, and this is my plan. So my plan and my vision for 2026 to try and make this more sustainable means I will not be going away camping every fortnight and making a camping video every fortnight on this channel. I have decided that I am going to be going on a trip only once a month. And basically that means I'm going to make the trip that I do a bigger one. I'm going to focus on doing a bigger one, at least 4 days kind of thing, maybe 5, maybe 6, but only once a month. And I want to make these videos quite an effort. I really want to tap more into the survival challenge genre with a historical approach to it, because I actually genuinely love making those videos myself. It's not just that they perform well on YouTube, but I've always loved that survival stuff, and I've always kind of been into it. And that also means that, you know, I can go away once a month. That's okay with my wife. She can take care of the kids, and then for the rest of the month I'm at home to help out. It means I can invest more in the trip that I do and make it a good one, make it a big one. And yeah, I think that's going to be a lot more feasible and a lot more sustainable for me, because yeah, financially I just can't keep going away every fortnight. Now, does that mean that I'm only going to be making one video a month? Absolutely not. I want to utilize the fact that I live on a bit of a rural farming area with bushland at the back. You've seen all my videos where I've built a little shack and a little bit of a hut down the back. And I've in the past kind of dabbled in a few Australian history type topics while on my farm. Well, I'm going to start utilizing that more. And this is going to be stuff about Australian history, you know, whether it's kind of the kind of gear that the old Bushmen would have used, the food that they would have made, the clothing they would have worn, you know, whether it's little catch and cooks on my property, like catching rabbits, shooting rabbits, cooking up rabbits. I am in the process of getting my firearms license. So I want to do more of that kind of hunting stuff on the property. And there's just a whole lot of Australian history that I can teach And I want to utilize that because it means I don't have to go away. I'm at home. I can film a video during the day, and then I'm at home to help my wife with the kids at night when it's really hard. And it's just going to be a lot more practical. It means I can actually probably pump out more content this year than I was last year, but it just won't all be going away on big camping adventures. So I do hope you like that. I do hope that you'll be okay with that. So hopefully I'm going to try and plan to do 3 videos a month on this channel. And that's going to be a lot more sustainable for me to do it that way with the way YouTube is going. You know, recently I was watching someone on YouTube who talks about YouTube growth, and they were saying, look, YouTube's experimenting on us. The way the algorithm has changed, the way, you know, AI has flooded YouTube, and so there's less views going around and people aren't seeing videos from the people they want to watch and you know, the subscribers that they subscribe to. YouTube's experimenting on us, so it's time for us to start experimenting on YouTube. And that's what I'm doing. I'm experimenting here. I'm trying something different, trying to change it up to see if, you know, this works in any kind of way. I might also start posting on different schedules. You know, these big adventure videos, I'll probably post on the Sunday evenings that I've always been doing, but I might post on a Saturday morning now, and just, yeah, I'm just going to mix it up and see how it goes. So my channel is always going to focus on that kind of niche of Australian bushman history, kind of out in the bush camping adventures, lifestyle of our history, of our past, our heritage in this country. The adventures camping videos are going to be more kind of survival challenge type based for those people who are into that. And then at home on my farm, it's going to be more very Australian history specific and focused. And I love Australia history. I've done a deep dive this year on our history, just learning more about it. I've got a lot of books at home. I do a lot of studying. You know, there's a bit of a gap in the market here. I've not seen on YouTube, there probably are other channels, but I've not seen a channel that really goes deep and focuses on our bush history and tries to relive it. Not any really big channels, perhaps. And I get inspiration from channels like Fandabby Dozy. He does that for the Scottish Highland culture. Similar thing, he does big camping adventures, but then he also does little bits of information, kind of education type videos as well. I've seen quite a few different channels do this format, and so I'm going to try and copy that. I would love to be a channel that's kind of known for Australian bushman history. You know, the 2 main reasons I want to do this, as I've just spoken about, it's probably going to be more sustainable for me to do it this way on YouTube. But there's a second reason, which is a bit of a deeper reason. There's a bit of a bigger picture behind this, and that is, I really want people to be proud of their country here in Australia. And I want people to learn about our history and be inspired by our history. You know, I get really motivated when I hear stories of like school teachers sharing my videos with, you know, whether primary age classes or secondary age classes. And so that's why I keep my content pretty family friendly, so that, you know, young people can also learn about our history from this channel. And, you know, let me just talk about something and just clear it up, because some people do ask me about this, and so I've never really spoken about it in depth. So I'll just use this chance here to speak about it in depth. And that is, why do I predominantly focus on European heritage in this country and our European history in this country, and not Indigenous history? Well, first of all, if you watch my videos, I actually do speak a lot about Indigenous heritage and culture, bush culture throughout my videos, because it's impossible to talk about Australian history and the growth of this country without talking about the Indigenous. It's just that you're just leaving a massive gap if you do not talk about them. Our history is so interwoven with their history, and it has to be talked about. And that's why I often talk about Indigenous bushcraft culture. And it's a shared culture, what I'm talking about. The bushrangers, the stockmen, the explorers, the swagmen, these are all actually a shared culture. Many of these roles also had Indigenous folk in them as well. But yes, the truth remains, my channel and its focus is predominantly on European heritage in this country, especially the main themes of videos and things like that. And the reason for that, there's probably 3 main reasons. The first reason is, I think that there are other people, there are other channels and content creators who do the Indigenous history stuff better than I could, because they're much more knowledgeable. You know, guys like Outback Mike, he's really good. The Outback Boys, they used to be Black As, but they're now the Outback Boys on YouTube. They do really cool stuff up in the Northern Territory. I'd recommend their channel. So yeah, I think that there's better people to be able to focus on that, specifically and predominantly focusing on that Indigenous history. Number two, the reason why I focus on European heritage in this country is because, well, it's my heritage. I'm obviously of European descent. Now, I don't actually have ancestry that dates back to colonial days. My ancestry, my both grandparents on both sides migrated here with that European wave of migration after the World Wars. And so, yeah, I don't actually have ancestry that dates back to colonial times, but I still grew up in Australia. I still have a European background, you know, in a broader sense. But obviously, being of European descent anyway, I'm very fascinated with European heritage. And so I'm fascinated with European heritage in this country. And so that's also plays a big part of that. And I think everyone should be proud of their heritage. I think Indigenous should be proud of their heritage. The Islanders, the Chinese, Africans, everyone should look at their culture and their heritage and their past and look back on it and say, yeah, that's my heritage. Because a man who's not allowed to celebrate his heritage is a man stripped of his identity. So yeah, that's the second reason. And then the third reason why the channel is predominantly European heritage in Australia is because I think today in mainstream media, and in pop culture, anything that kind of focuses on Australian history and European history in this country, I feel it almost always has a negative slant to it, unfortunately. And look, that's not to say that there aren't violent and brutal and bad things that happen in our history. Of course there was. You know, we all think of what happened to the Indigenous, but you know, look at the Irish convicts as well. They were basically chattel slaves. Like it's a violent history. Pioneer history is a violent history. But as it is in all cultures and all people around the world, that kind of violence and brutality is in everyone's history. And so I've never shied away from talking about that and being open and honest about it. But it just puts it in perspective that every culture has those violent aspects of conquering other people and violence against other people. And we can acknowledge that without having to hang our head in shame and hate our own culture and our own heritage. So the more I do a deep dive on our heritage in this country, the more I realize there's a lot to be proud about. There's a lot that's really cool about European heritage in Australia. And that's not putting down other people. That's not putting down the Indigenous heritage or even the Chinese heritage who came here and did gold digging in the 1800s, or the Afghani camel traders. You know, it's all very fascinating. But I really love the European heritage in this country. And so that's why I predominantly focus on that in this channel. It's all positive for me. There's nothing negative coming from me in that regards. And look, our country is changing. There's a lot of people in this country now who I don't think really understand our history or really what went down and the nuances. And so I'd love my channel to be a way to bridge that gap and to share some of the stuff we should be proud of. You know, there's a lot of people who love the prosperity that Australia gives them without understanding where that prosperity came from. And so, and look, I'm just fascinated with bush culture. I'm fascinated with how people lived out in the bush, and I'm fascinated with how the pioneers lived out in the bush. And so that's why I want to share this culture and this history and this heritage with you guys. So lots of plans for this year of 2026. Getting a firearms license, more survival videos. I want to do a big trip down the Murray River in my dinghy, copying Charles Sturt, who went down the Murray River in a whale boat. I want to learn to sail. Yeah, I've got a lot of ideas, good ideas. So I hope that you're going to stick around to this channel for 2026. For those of you who love the history side of things, you'll be able to watch my little history videos. For those of you who love the big camping adventures, you'll be able to watch them as well. And yeah, look, I'm really looking forward to it. My big outback adventure video, I'm going to release that to everyone in the public at the start of February. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who has believed in the channel, who have joined up to the channel, who loves watching the videos. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. You guys all mean a lot to me. Yeah, let's see where we can take this channel for 2026. Can we reach the big 100k subscribers? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see how we go.